This is Live from the Table, the official podcast of the world-famous Comedy Cellar, coming at you on Sirius XM 99 Raw Dog, and wherever podcasts are available. Dan Naturman here. Noam Dorman is not here. Why? His son is having a birthday, so
Correct.
He's spending time with his son. We're here, of course, with Periel Aschenbrand, the show's producer and on-air personality. And we have with us Fabrizio Copano. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Perfect.
He is a comedian, and he works at the Comedy Cellar, and he is one of the most well-known comedians in Latin America, according to what I'm reading here, and the first South American comedian to shoot an original comedy special for Netflix.
Wow.
That's accurate?
That happened in 1999.
99?
Yeah, yeah. No, it happened like in 2017.
Okay.
But it sounds like it was like, the first one on Netflix. That was like 20 years ago. Yeah, no, who cares what?
I don't know if Netflix been around that long. I mean,
No.
they used to have
DVDs. Yeah.
DVDs, yeah. That's anyway.
What's it called?
It's called Solo Pienso en Mí. I only think about myself.
Fabrizio is from Chile.
Yes.
And as you may know, Daniel Simonson, I think, is part Chilean. I don't know if you've had that discussion with him or not.
Yeah, he's half Chilean. So that's not being Chilean.
But did he ever live there?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, he didn't.
Because he's Norwegian, but I don't know if he ever lived in Chile.
I think Daniel's more Norwegian than Chilean.
I mean, the funny thing is, like, a lot of people say, well, if he's Chilean, if he's Latino, he should be like more, like, more spicy or some more energy maybe. But Chileans are really like him. Like, Chileans are low energy. It's a cold country. It's all the way south. So he combined the worst of two countries.
Now it says you're very well known in Chile,
Yep.
or in South America, in the entire Spanish speaking world, or where are you well known? Just Chile or other countries as well?
I think Chile mainly. Like, I was born there. I stayed most of my life there. And then in Mexico, I have an audience. I have some people in Colombia. I can tour Argentina. Those are like my territories, I think.
Well? So when you walk down the street in Chile, how often do people say, "Hey, that's Fabrizio"?
A lot, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Recently, because they did a big festival they have over there, like a TV, like a televised. It's a kind of a Eurovision, but
Yeah.
with comics.
Okay.
Also, like, it's music and comics, a weird thing from the 70s and still around. Actually, from the 60s. And I did that show this year, so I'm very refreshed.
So who could you give us an American that you're as famous in Chile as this person would be in America? That we would get a. Are you as famous in Chile as Louis C.K. is in America?
Not for the same reasons, but maybe. Yeah.
About at that level.
Yeah, I think so.
And obviously, financially, of course, it's a smaller country, so you wouldn't
Peso.
have his.
It's pesos. It's not real money.
Okay, but
It's like cookies. It's like worth nothing.
so you now there's another South American that works here by the name of Rafi Bastos.
Yeah, good friend of mine.
He's
Brazilian.
Brazilian, so they speak a different language.
And they are happy. Like, they're not
They're
like
happier
Chileans.
people.
They're
Well,
really happy.
Well, they have that reputation. You know, Rio is like a party city.
Yeah,
Chile,
yeah.
we don't know much about Chile.
No, we're like an indie country. You know, we're not like in the news all the time. You know, we're not like Venezuela. Like, those guys are
Yeah,
killing it.
Very seldom does Chile come up in conversation. Now,
We
Fabrizio.
have the miners. The miners. Do you remember the Chilean miners?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That was a while back.
Yeah.
Now, when I first heard the name Fabrizio Copano, I was talking to Mike Vecchione, who's Italian American. I said, this is real. Now, this is a real Italian. Because your name is Fabrizio Copano.
It's very Italian.
But
Yeah.
you are not Italian.
I'm not. The thing is, like, the thing is, like, in South America, or in general in other countries, we're not obsessed with our heritage. We're not like looking for where we from. You know, we don't have that. And since I moved to the U.S., now it's like a thing. So now I had to figure out where's like the Italian part of my family.
Right.
And there's some people from Italy that moved to Spain, and from Spain they cross to South America, and they stay in Chile. I don't know why.
And you had to schlep all of this information out now that you're in New York.
So
When
now
you're
I'm
in Chile-
Italian.
People want to know because people hear Fabrizio
Yeah.
and you say you're from Chile, they want an explanation, and rightly so.
Right, but if
what are you
you're
trying
from-
to pull?
Right. And if you're in Chile, nobody's asked. They know where they're from. right?
They're from Chile.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, but
It's
Chile,
only in America that people are obsessed where they're from.
but Chile is the new world. Ergo, unless you're part Amerindian, I guess, part native Indian, whatever.
Amerindian.
Yeah,
check
American.
you out.
Well, it's we have the Mapuche people, was like the natives from there.
Yeah.
So I think we're a mix between Spain and like you're from Spain, who went to kill them and decided to have sex with them in the meantime.
Ooh, ah.
And that's where we come from, Chileans.
So, but do you yourself have that ancestry, or you haven't looked into it?
No, I look into it. Yeah, yeah. There's some Italians that went to Spain. I think it's San Jerez de la Frontera. That was this place where they stay. And some of them went to California, actually. And I met them when I was in California. I met like the other Copanos.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And it was weird because one of them looked like my dad. So it was weird because it doesn't look like 100%, but there was some gestures or movements. I was like, that's my dad.
It's very White Lotus.
Yeah, it was very White Lotus.
Well, I don't watch White Lotus, but I'll take your word for it. Now, so what brings you? I'm sure you make a nice living in Chile. I mean, as I said, it's a smaller country, so you're
How
not going to make
big
as
is it?
much money as
How
a
big is
star in
Chile?
America.
How big is
I'm guessing 20 million people.
Yeah, yeah. You're right. It's 17 million, so it must be 20 now.
so the
Yeah.
size of what?
Well, his size
Three
of
blocks
potential
on-
audience is not as big as if you're
Hell
famous.
Kitchen, probably.
But then again, if he's the only famous, and he gets all 20 million, then maybe he's making more money than a comic here who.
No, listen. Like the Chilean currency is pretty decent. Like I'm lucky that Chile is a very stable country in terms of economics. So if we have like Argentina is in the toilet, like it's right next to us, and it's like so different. We're a very. I mean, Chile's a really
Juan Perón still in charge, or am I?
I think it was Menem in the 90s. But all the thing is like Chile is a very, very stable country. Now it's kind of a little more crazy, but honestly, like in the last 20, 30 years, it's been very, very
And
stable.
of course, the capital is Santiago.
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 Exactly. Santiago.
Santiago.
It's Italia.
And is that where you're from, Santiago?
Yeah, I'm from Santiago.
How long have you been in New York?
2 years now.
Oh, wow.
So are you? It's like you've obviously got a good thing going in Chile.
Yeah.
But yet here you are trying your luck in the United States. Why? Because you feel that comedy in English is the pinnacle of comedy?
Kind of. I mean, not in English, but mostly like I think in like this is the place where it started, so it must be better. You know, it must be like the original place of comedy. And I think I always wanted to be in. It's like if you're I don't know, like a basketball player, you can do this in life.
You want to do the NBA.
But you want to do the NBA. So I always wanted to do that because I learned about comedy watching. I don't know, like Comedian, the documentary of Jerry Seinfeld from early thousands, or I don't know. I remember like watching like HBO specials in the middle of the night that they show up in HBO for free by accident because in Chile we put HBO for free, in basic cable, thinking it was basic cable, and we all had HBO right away, and it was a mistake. That years later, like that company was like, we fucked it up, like it shouldn't be for free, and then yeah.
So who did you watch? Who did you discover that you?
Well,
felt-
my favorite at the beginning was Eddie Murphy. When I watched Raw, I was like, "What the hell is this?"
Now, are you watching this in English with Spanish?
subtitles.
Okay.
Yeah. Because of that, I decided to learn English. And
See, that was one of my questions. I mean, because that's remarkable to.
Well, in Chile, people don't just study English like in general at school?
not in my school, not in public schools. No, well, mine was not public, but was like half funded by government, so it was not that great. Because public school over there is really shitty. But generally speaking, like it's not a thing. Speaking English,
Oh, okay,
it's not a. I mean, now it's more, like because people wanted to travel more and like and it's nowadays also like Mandarin. You have to learn Mandarin too, like all this thing. But honestly, like we just speak Spanish.
And
Right.
So your level of English, it sounds good to me, but can you? I was talking with Daniel Simonson. Well, I wasn't talking with him. I was just listening to his act, I think. And he talks about how, and I don't know if it's true or just because it's funny, he talks about how he has trouble doing improv. Just kind of talking to the audience.
It took me a long time to start doing improv. When I've moved 2017, and I went to LA first. And while I was there, I learned English. I learned to talk English when I was there. So the first thing I did was translating some jokes. That was my first thought. Like I should translate some jokes. So I learned these jokes, and I was like, I have to tell them exactly the
As
way
you
they
learn
are.
them, yeah.
And I was really nervous about like any like saying something wrong was like really nerve wracking for me. And at some point, I was like, you know what? I should just talk because comedy is about being present and like being there. And even if you commit any mistakes, it's like still fine because it's part of who you are. And then when I started like getting more relaxed on stage, I started doing better. And at the same time, my English got better because I was so more comfortable with it. And now even sometimes I know that I'm saying not 100% right. Like sometimes I committed some grammatical mistakes, I still know that everyone can understand and I feel comfortable talking.
Now, just I don't know if you want to be corrected.
No, I hate being corrected.
Well,
but my wife do it.
But it's coming
all
to
the
you.
time.
Oh, your wife is no, but you say I committed mistakes, but not wrong to
Yeah,
say that.
yeah, it's not wrong, but
no American has ever said that.
Yeah, this is the first time.
in the history of America.
This is the first
You would say I made a mistake.
Yeah,
I made an error. Not I.
A commit is like a crime. It's like committed.
Usually used for crime
Or suicide.
or suicide, exactly, which we've discussed on previous episodes.
That
but
happened
you
to me.
Typically, don't commit a mistake. You could,
Yeah,
except we don't.
But
Is
we'll
your wife
understand.
American?
Yeah, she's from Texas.
Oh, wow.
Now, does she correct you? Because usually when I'm talking, most people don't want to correct somebody because they don't want to be rude or interrupt the flow of the conversation. They understand it anyway, so what's the difference?
Yeah.
But I as a student of a foreign language myself, I study French. I realized that one could make mistakes for years and never know it unless somebody jumps in and does what has to be done.
It's good sometimes. Other times it's annoying. I think it depends on the context. Sometimes you want it to be corrected because you're working in a joke and you want someone to tell like, you know what, it will be better if you say it this way because you will get to that point. Like people would then get distracted with this. That's good.
I
But
like
when
to
you're
be
ordering food
corrected.
on the phone. It's like who cares?
Right, if you're on the phone, yeah. But when my husband's also from another country, and I speak the language that he speaks, and I do, but not as well as he speaks it. But I like to be corrected. But I think on the phone, I probably wouldn't be. That seems particularly obnoxious.
Yeah, and
On the phone.
also when you're angry, when you're having like a fight.
Yeah, no, that's
It's like you don't. I mean, also your brain started like my brain started malfunctioning and started like speaking in Spanish in the mix of a fight.
Well, that's what Ricky Ricardo always did.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
He
Does
would
your
speak
wife
Spanish when he
Spanish?
would yell at Lucy, and Lucy would.
That's
would
what
not
Guy
understand.
does. That's what my husband does when he gets mad at me. He starts screaming in Hebrew. Does your wife speak Spanish?
Yes.
Okay.
She used to live in Mexico for a while.
But between you and her, you speak mainly English, I guess.
Yes. I always ask her to like speak in English so I can speak English.
Do you have a
more.
child?
Yeah, we have a baby.
A baby. Okay, so and this is a topic we've discussed. This podcast often broaches linguistic issues. Is an interest of ours. Or it's an interest of mine and Periel's. I guess I don't know if Noam gives a shit. But how do you plan to speak to the child? Is it important to you that the child speaks Spanish?
It's important that he speak both. Yeah.
So you gotta make an effort
The thing is like what you supposed
because
to
otherwise
do-
he's gonna resist.
Yeah. What you're supposed to do is at home Spanish or at home the second language, and then outside he's gonna learn anyways because he's gonna be out there and he's gonna be listening people speaking English and like he's gonna like
Yeah, but
be immersed in English.
you guys have to talk to him in Spanish.
You have to be like
Yes.
very very like you don't
And
even talk
in
to him.
But is
Yeah.
your wife, who's not a native Spanish speaker, going to speak to him in
I
Spanish?
would never marry her if she wants to. No, like we will go for. I think we're gonna go for Spanish.
Only in the
Yeah,
home
that's
Spanish.
good.
Yeah.
It's such a gift to give.
However,
a
the
child.
child
it's pretty amazing.
will speak Spanish, but he will lack vocabulary that you might get at school because you're interacting with your parents. You're not using all this, perhaps the slang and the vocabulary and the subjects,
Yeah.
topics. He'll have the basics.
Yeah. But then I think at some point he will go to a bilingual school.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I don't know. Like, listen, I'm
Yeah, no.
Are there because right near me is a Lycée Français, which
Yes,
is like
there are
French English. I didn't know if they have
Yes,
Spanish English
there are.
schools too.
And
Yeah.
even in some of the public schools, there's
everyone speaks Spanish in this country. That's another.
Especially
Well,
in New York.
well, that's.
in New York.
I mean, in this.
I mean,
in
in
New
certain
York and
places,
LA.
there's a lot of Spanish
It's
speakers.
a lot. It's a lot everywhere.
But
in New York is great. Like there are great even public schools here that
And
are.
when you walk around and like you can talk with people in
Mhm.
Spanish and like it's
Yes,
really fluid.
but anybody that's that's a native English speaker usually don't speak Spanish. It's people that come from these other places that
yeah,
tend to
maybe
speak
yeah.
Spanish. And their children might speak
I
it.
understand that difference, but I expected way less people speaking Spanish. And if I walk around, and you can.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a really strong Spanish-speaking culture, particularly in New York, because there's
Yes,
so
yes.
many.
But most Americans do not speak Spanish.
Right, but
Yeah, no,
forget
that's
America. I'm talking about like New York, like Puerto Ricans,
Yeah, sure, of course.
Dominicans.
Sure,
Like
yeah.
that's such a
But
strong New
yeah.
York City cultural identity.
I think it's in now like yeah, I think there's like a second and third generation, like they have more money and they get like in the system, and like some entities decided to like also have Spanish in their company, like it's growing, it's getting into the system for decades.
So do you go back to Chile to make money? I think Rafi does that, right?
Yeah, we do that. Yeah, I also like I work on through the internet and podcasts and stuff for Chile, and it works really well too. Like
Yeah.
to make money and keep talking with my audience while I'm here, and then I go for I don't know a month of touring, and I try to make a lot of pesos.
Well, now, what are your ambitions for the United States?
Uh,
Where do you hope to go in the English-speaking world comedically?
Well, I want to go as far as I can go. Like I just want to like be a household name and just grow in the U.S. The same way I grew in Chile. Like have an audience and be able to travel and be able to like do projects with an audience who's waiting for those projects. Like if it's could be a movie, a book, or I don't know, like a new special. Like try to have an audience to keep doing different stuff, always in the comedy world.
What's that comic's name that does bilingual comedy? He's American, but Tom
Fluffy?
Segura.
Ah,
Tom
Tom.
Segura.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you know him.
Yeah, I know him. Yeah, I did his podcast in Spanish actually once,
Okay.
and yeah, I worked with him a couple of times.
And then there's Carmen Lynch,
Yeah, she's
who
from
also
Spain.
does well. I don't know if she's from Spain. Her mother's from Barcelona.
I
think
think it's
or
for
whatever.
Madrid. Yeah.
Well, whatever.
yeah.
But the point is, she also is. I mean, it's a big. There's a lot of people doing it. There's Daniel Simonson.
Yeah, yeah.
There's Rafi Bastos.
Mhm.
There's you. There's
It's happening more and more.
Gad Elmaleh was here for a time, and now he's back in France. But he was doing it. There's the sense that, people that have done well in other countries feel that you're not, unless you've made it in America, like the NBA analogy.
Yeah. I think there's something of that, some of that in the thing, but at the same time, also like Chile is a really small country. I think like Brazil is huge, or if you're in Mexico is. It's like it's so big that you can be traveling forever and finding new audiences forever. But Chile is really small, so for me it was like when I was 25, I was like I need to
But-
get out
but
here. Because
South-
they started really young, and that was like the difference.
But
for
South
me.
America's really big. What prevents you from being big in Argentina or Colombia or Ecuador?
Well, first of all, those countries are not real. But second is because it's really like we have major cultural differences
Right.
between one
yeah,
another,
Sure.
and it's dumb because we should be like the U.S. in a way. We should be like one big thing. We'll have some leverage in the world, but at the same time we hate each other. Like each country kind of hate each other. It's less and less. Used to be worse, of course. And I can travel here and there, but really you have to like kind of move to the other country to be famous in that country. You can do it remotely. You can like be in Chile and be starting like an audience here and there. Maybe with the internet now, I can see a couple of people doing it, but I think it's a lot of work, and I really wanted to be here instead of putting my energy into.
What about Mexico? You say you mentioned Mexico. You do comedy there.
Yeah, I've been there. I was there for a year also before I moved to the U.S.
I was in Mexico opening for Louis C.K.
Yeah. The Metropolitan, no? Like
I don't remember where it was.
Yeah, a friend of mine, Carlos. You know Carlos Vallarta?
Yeah,
He
he
also
he did the opening.
Yeah. He's a
li-
good friend of mine.
So I was a little bit concerned that I might have to talk slower. That English is not their native language, but it went very, very well. They
speak
understood it
English really
perfectly,
well.
and I guess they wouldn't be at a Louis C.K. show if they didn't. Although some people might overestimate their comprehension level, but no, it was great. They were a great audience.
Yeah, Mexico's great. It's a lot of fun. Nice.
And then we had Then I went to dinner with not with Louis, but I went to dinner with his road manager, and we had goat, I believe.
Goat.
Yeah, I think that's.
How was it?
I didn't like it.
Mealy?
Yeah, I don't recall, but I don't remember saying I got to have more goat. But in any case,
So you didn't like Mexican food?
I didn't like the goat.
I didn't like particularly that.
I didn't like the goat, but I like Mexican food.
I love Mexican
Yeah, I love
food.
Mexican food.
What about Chilean food?
Well, we don't know anything about Chile.
Well, why don't we
Well,
find out?
Actually, I have good news because today, I don't know the name of this website, but they put a ranking of best different kind of foods. I don't know, they use data or something, and they just like, okay, this is the list of the, I don't know, 10 best desserts in the world. And Chile, one of our main dishes or like our favorite dishes called um, pastel de choclo. That is like a corn pie in a way. Yeah, it is a corn pie. Now it's number one of casseroles in the world.
Oh.
Wow.
So that's
Well, we
where
live
our
in New York
pride-
City. I'm quite sure there's Chilean food to be found.
We have to find a really good Chilean restaurant.
I think there's one in Jersey.
Well, we're not going to Jersey.
Yeah, I know. Let me neither. But
Food.
they have one.
I imagine you can get good Chilean food here in New York City.
You have to be cutting me a check to go to Jersey. I have a question which I think will interest
Oh,
you,
all right, go ahead. See.
if I may.
Well, you may.
And we actually discussed this with Rafi also. And apparently, well, at least from what he says, I think he's telling the truth. Like he can't even walk down the street in Brazil without getting stopped.
Well, I
Like,
asked him that
We-
about
we gotta
what
get
level of
robbed,
fame he
or-
is. In,
but I didn't ask him my question yet.
oh, I thought you were
I was
getting at.
I was setting it up.
Okay. All right.
It must be kind of a wild experience to go from that to coming to America and suddenly nobody knows who you are, right?
Well,
Well, he's used to it because he's been to Argentina.
at the beginning it was at the beginning it was kind of weird because
Yeah.
not because of I wanted to like being I don't know like
Yeah,
stalked
of
in the
course,
street,
sure.
but mostly it was like the idea of like no one cares.
It's very
about-
brave. I mean, it's like everything was going great and like
I mean, bravery.
and what I
say
did
brave.
what I did was going to open mics, and that was a shock. You know, going
that
for
is
like
wild.
I was doing theaters and like arenas and like places like that, and then next morning I was in an open mic in Oxnard. So that was a cultural clash for sure. That was sad, and at some point I was like, well, why I'm doing this, and I
But
you
it's
check Instagram with your friends and like they're doing so well, and you're like, maybe I
yeah,
should
but
be
you know, in a
there."
way, it's a good thing because what's better than being at the bottom with nowhere to go but up? You've conquered Chile. It sounds like. Where's the excitement there? The excitement is coming to America and starting at the beginning, new challenges,
Yeah, there's
new hills
fun.
to climb.
Yeah.
So you're getting like to me, you know, I look at the beginning of my comedy career and it was so fun because there was nowhere to go but up. All things were possible. You know, everything was still on the table.
That's still true. I keep telling you that. You don't.
Less so than when you're 23. But in any case,
I mean,
the idea that there was literally nowhere to go but up. I could go down.
yeah, you could go a lot down.
But I couldn't go
Gonna go to
down
an open
when
mic
I
on
started,
Oxnard.
and Fabrizio can't go down in America. He's like the excitement of new challenges,
There's something about that is true. I agree, but also like I have to say,
and he's got the money, so he doesn't have to worry about the money, but he still gets all the positives of the
it's very
new
It's a
challenge.
very expensive city, so you still worry about.
But
the
you go
money.
back to Chile, you feel the teatro del
What is
toro, and you make a lot of pesos.
So yeah, I mean, there's that. But also the other side is like very relaxing to like be. No one cares.
Yeah, first of all,
about what you do,
fame
you
is
know?
really who gives it. Fame is worthless. The only thing fame is good for. Well, fame is good for two reasons: make money, but he can go to
Well-
Chile and make money, and get laid. Those are the two
No,
things
but
that
I
fame
think,
is good
I mean,
for.
I will say that there's something that I missed about fame here is access.
yeah, that's really what.
Access to what? To vagina.
No.
No.
Well, also, but in a way,
And you're married, so forget the vagina.
no. But this is the thing
Your
about
vagina days are over.
my vagina days are gone. The thing is like I don't know if you want to make a movie, you know, like
Yeah.
when you're famous, you're like,
All right,
okay, I'm
okay,
gonna think
all right.
about this. I'm gonna write it down. Someone's gonna read it.
All
and
right,
someone's
fair
gonna put
point,
money
fair
to
point,
make
fair
it
point,
happen.
fair point.
Or if I want to like I don't know, want to like have this idea in mind, we should do this and this, or we should perform in this place, blah blah blah. You can see the access, like you have the doors for those
Okay,
keys
all right,
easily.
all right. I hear what you're saying.
And,
Sure.
and that's I think that's my favorite part about fame. It's just like
But being harassed on the street doesn't add value to your life. It doesn't.
no, make your
No,
life miserable.
yeah.
There's nothing positive about it unless it's a hot chick that wants to fuck you.
Or unless you're crazy, because some people are crazy and they want that because they feel alive. The only way they
Yeah.
feel alive is like when they're being recognized on the street.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get recognized often. When I do, I can tell you it adds nothing to my life.
Unless it's a hot girl.
Unless Olga.
But sometimes I don't know, like
And then
don't
it's
always,
potential benefit. Otherwise, how's it benefit me to
you know
somebody
what?
knows who I am?
Once in a while, someone says something really sweet
Yeah, that's
to me,
fine, you know.
and that makes me feel good. When like someone says like not like hey a picture or whatever, no, like someone just stop and it's like hey I was having a rough time
Oh, and
and
you
I
help
saw
me.
your
All right,
thing.
okay, yeah.
It's like It's a good feeling.
That doesn't move you at all.
That would move me, but I don't know if it'd make my life better. Yeah, it might. It might.
Make my morning better, you know, like not make my life.
It might a little bit. It's not a huge benefit. I don't think.
It's okay. I mean, we're different.
It's okay. It's not bad, but generally.
But
speaking,
you don't really give a shit if you've made somebody else happy.
No, in that particular case, of course, I would obviously.
It's a sweet
nice
thing.
to hear
It's
that.
not like life-changing thing, but it's nice to like get a message like that once in a while, and it makes you feel like you're like worth the effort.
Of course,
You know?
100%.
You're worth the effort. Like it's some pain. We know comedies could be painful, but once in a while you get this like, oh,
Yeah.
you know, it's working. Like someone is happier because you know, like there's little moments when you're like, oh,
Yeah.
this is good.
Okay, fair.
I
point.
do think, first of all, I think that was a very good question. Second of all, I do think that there is something brave about leaving the comfort of
No,
your home.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, why not?
I mean, the things that are brave, I don't put that at the top of the list.
What things are really brave?
Brave, you're jumping in a cold river to save a drowning child.
No, I would never do
run
that.
into a house that's burning to save
Nope.
the doggy.
Nope.
That's ridiculous.
I think to some
bigger
extent,
fireman,
Jim
like
Norton talking
firefighter.
about liking trans women, given his audience, there was some bravery to it.
I agree with that. But I mean,
Keith Robinson going on stage after a stroke when he's physically and vocally handicapped.
agreed.
Yeah, all of those are.
Oh.
I mean, the transgender thing was not. I don't know. Like
I don't know.
if
If they're brave. I
if
don't know.
yeah, I don't know if
Maybe
that's
I'm
brave.
reaching, but but to come to another country,
To leave all the comforts and success.
he goes back and can get all the comforts and comes here for a unbelievable new. As I said,
He didn't know that though. That
No.
wasn't a given in
no,
a
no,
whole
no, no,
new
no.
language.
I didn't finish my sentence. Whether he makes it big or not in America, he's got renewed dreams. You understand? When you achieve your dreams, that's done. You know, Michael Phelps was never more depressed than after he won 20 gold medals.
Right, I know that.
Because he's done. He did what he accomplished. And where's the new mountain to climb? Coming to America gives you a new mountain to climb that has to be
It is.
very, I would imagine,
Yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah, but I also,
You're not brave. You understand?
Yeah,
There's
no.
I don't perceive it as
I
bravery.
was really proud of myself before this podcast, and now I have to like.
Well,
no,
you should
just
be
live with
proud.
this
Well,
life.
no, you should be proud of yourself for making people laugh in a language that's not your native language.
I think that's the bravest part.
That's scary, but
Yeah, but I don't know if you. I mean,
depending on your level of how at ease you are in English. When I perform in French, I'm very frightened because when the words, I still have to like concentrate to make sure the words come out precisely correct.
Yeah.
But
So I don't know if that's your case in English. Can you just kind of like open your mouth and the words flow out
At the
naturally?
beginning was very. I remember having a lot of headaches.
Yeah.
Especially like during the days I have to perform. I was like, damn, my head
Yeah.
hurts. But now, honestly, I feel more comfortable with my English. I think it got better.
Right.
And second is like I don't care that much about mistakes. I feel like it's part of who am I in
Right.
this country.
I mean, you can
I
get
embrace
laughs.
it and I embrace it instead of like fighting with it. And then I feel like it's working. Like I can tell that I get the laugh. So if it's okay,
Yeah.
I can keep doing more improv.
I mean, comedy is very precise. Now, you know, if one word is off or it can ruin the whole joke. So you know.
Yeah, you have to be
that's
careful.
very rewarding. I mean, I would imagine you feel similarly when you're performing in French,
well,
and it's working.
And it's working, and I'm done. Yes, and it's over.
And
That's why I don't. You know, originally my thought was I'm going to go to France and I'm going to do a one-man show and an hour show and be the only or one of. There's another guy actually doing it, but one of two Americans doing comedy in French in France. But the anxiety was so overwhelming that I said, "Fuck it, I ain't doing this shit."
Really?
I ain't doing it. No. So I mean, I'll do.
That was not that brave, I have to say.
Well, no.
I mean, talking about bravery,
I was
I
very.
feel-
Some people. I'm anxious anyway, even in English.
Yeah, no,
So
I
this
get that
compounds
feeling.
it. Now, if you're at ease in English, and that's great. You know.
No, I understand. It's crazy to go on stage without like having completely control.
Complete
of the language.
mastery.
Yeah.
The one interesting thing is when I would go to Paris, I would do shows in English as well, and it would be like I felt like Superman after doing a set in French, and then you do a set in English. You're like, oh my, holy shit! You understand the power of being a native speaker of a language. It's like you're Superman.
Yeah, well, when I go to Chile, also like Chilean Spanish is really specific. We speak really fast, and we don't finish the words.
Yeah, we don't finish the word either.
And we,
I mean, that's pretty obvious, don't you think?
but I mean, if you, it's like Chilean Spanish is like Australian English. It's really hard to understand, and we have a lot of slang, and it's kind of impossible for all the countries to really. And so when I go to Chile and I do a set in Chilean Spanish specifically, I feel like I'm in control. Like this is just who I am. Like I was born in this place, so I know everything, every reference, everything that is going on. You know, even you can read the audience because you know them so well. It's like they're your family.
Here's the analogy that I use. I say when I'm speaking French, I'm a pilot, a competent pilot who knows how to manipulate the controls and use the right amount of rudder, a throttle, and to fly the aircraft to a specific destination. When I speak English, I'm a bird. I just fly.
Can you land the plane?
I can land the plane, but I
land.
have to think about, okay, I got to pull out 30 degrees of flaps and reduce the power. Now, a bird doesn't think that. When a bird is landing, a bird just lands. Well, that's how I am in English.
Unless
I
like
just
a shitty bird.
land.
Yeah.
Or a bird that doesn't fly like a penguin.
Or have a stroke,
Exactly.
It's dealing with that.
Penguin, by the way, is actually what what RAF pilots used to call the ground people, like, people that are on the ground. Penguins, because I just watched the movie Airport.
But when they
on
swim,
Netflix and,
have you seen like penguins swimming?
Yeah.
They look like they're flying.
Well, they're good in the water, but
they're amazing.
I love that they call the people on land penguin.
right, it's like landlubber, it's like that equivalent.
Now,
like
see,
losers.
Yeah, they had contempt for them.
logically, that should really help your anxiety. If you just, I'm a bird, like
In
if you
English?
yes, in English, but you say you get anxious.
Oh, well, I'm
when
anxious
you
for
mention
other
bird.
reasons.
But you're anxious in general.
I'm not anxious that I can't get the words out. I'm anxious that I'll get the words out and the audience won't respond.
Right.
First of all, speaking in public is a common fear.
Yes, I'm aware of that. Thank
Whether it's
you.
rational or not, it's what
right.
it
But
is.
if you keep saying I'm a bird, I'm a bird.
Let's not take the analogy too far. You get the idea of what I'm trying to say. Anyway, back to Fabrizio.
There's different kind of birds.
Fabrizio.
Maybe some of them are not that happy with being birds.
Right,
I
right,
don't know.
right.
But I understand.
Well, no, I'm
what
not
you're trying to
anxious
say.
that I won't be able to get out the joke. I'm anxious
I know
just
you-
because I'm in front of a group of people,
Right.
and that's anxiety provoking.
It's like a bird on stage.
Like a bird that has an audience. He's not like a bird. Everybody's watching
Like a lot
the
of
bird.
penguins looking at this bird.
They're saying, "Let's see if the bird would, whatever."
Yeah.
Yes. Well, in any case, so you're here at the Comedy Cellar. Does the Comedy Cellar in Chile? Have people heard of the Comedy Cellar?
Well,
or the comics have probably heard of it. Have
Yeah.
you heard of it before coming?
yeah, of course. Yeah,
course.
yeah.
Because of the documentary with Seinfeld.
All that, yeah, and just like reading books about like the history of comedy in the U.S. or like like reading on the internet about what's going on or like watching clips. A bunch of clips have that like the backdrop, and of course it was a special place. It is a special place. So I always wanted to be in that stage. So I'm really proud that I'm part of the club now.
Are there comics that you work with here at the Comedy Cellar that as a Chilean coming up, you was like, wow, I'd really like to work with this person? Did you get all starstruck by any of the people here?
By everyone, yeah, like Todd Barry when I like
Of all people, Todd Banner.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking people like cross my mind. I have terrible memory, but like everyone, I was like, I can't believe that I'm in this club now.
How did you know Todd Barry, of all folks?
I can't remember, but maybe the Louis C.K. show.
The Louis?
Yeah,
Louis show?
maybe.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, and then it's like
This
watching
is not
that,
a slight
I
against
watched-
Todd Barry. He's just not as famous as
But
some of the other people that work
all
here.
those names. I mean, I have to say because I'm a comedy nerd. I don't
Okay.
know if they're famous
Okay.
because in my mind they are.
Oh, I
Like that's thing is like
Okay.
I don't know if it's just people is like huge or it's just huge in my mind. But that happened to me a lot with all the comics. I used to look to them like wow, like they're at the cellar, like and they are amazing. It's like I was right. But yeah, I understand that then when you're here, it's like feels like it's like just another day. at the
No,
office.
they are.
Well,
amazing.
had you heard of
Amazing.
Dan Natterman, i.e. me, prior to coming?
Was
here?
the
You don't have to lie.
Is the bird? Is the yeah? No, I know.
yeah, the bird.
Yeah.
They call me the bird.
You're talking about the bird?
Yeah, the bird.
Yeah.
What's bird in
El
Spanish?
pájaro. El pájaro.
Pájaro. Okay.
That's how you say bird in Spanish.
Pájaro.
Pájaro. El pájaro.
El pájaro.
How do you say it in French?
Oiseau.
L'oiseau.
Wizzo.
Or Piaf, I think, is a slang for bird. Like
L'oiseau.
Edith Piaf, I think. In any case, had you heard of me? Or
He
no?
said yes.
Well, but I want proof. How did you know me? Where? From what? From what? I haven't done anything.
For coming to this place a lot. Like
No,
just
but
being around the cellar
Back
and
in-
like
when you were
looking-
in Chile. I'm saying.
when I was in Chile, I mean, I don't have like I think all these shows melted in my mind, and I just have an idea of like between the documentary and scenes of clips that I see online, and like it's all in my mind like a blur of the comedy store,
Well,
the comedy cellar, and the comedy
Well,
store at one place in my brain.
Chile, when you were in Chile, who did you really look up to that you came here and you met at the Comedy Cellar, and if anybody, that you was like, oh fuck, I can't believe I'm working with this person, besides Stud Barry?
I think just that Barry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
I think. Man, I have a terrible memory, but I think. I mean, I just got passed a week ago, so it's not like I've been working with a lot of comics.
Oh wow, you literally.
Oh, I didn't know it was
just
that
got
recent. Well, that makes
here.
sense because I haven't seen him for that long. But being
Mazel tov.
being passed is a term of art that non-comedians might not. That means he's authorized to work here.
Yep, legal.
Yes, they got all the paperwork is in order. And they actually, I guess you do need paper because they use a W-2 here. I mean, everything is above board.
W9.
Do you have any legal issues working here? How do you?
And if you do, why don't-
married? I have a green
Oh,
card.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
if
green
you
card.
do,
Okay,
why
I got a
don't you
green card.
share them publicly
He has a
on
green
Sirius
card.
Radio?
A carta verde. What's green in Spanish?
Yeah, it's
Verde.
Carta Verde. That was a good Jeff.
Oh, okay. That's okay. Yeah. So how did you needed to just to go through the process? You know the process, but the
You know the
listeners may not. To work here at the Comedy Cellar requires an audition. You go up in front of Esty. She's the booker. She's in charge of booking all the rooms here as well as the Vegas room, and which is a pretty big job. Because there's so many rooms that we have here. But you had to audition for her. How did you
If
get
you get
on her?
past at one, you work at all.
Yeah,
of them.
sure. How did you? Well, yes, yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Although Vegas, there might be people she doesn't think are right for Vegas. I doubt it. I think anybody that works here she would use for Vegas. But a lot of people that work here don't want to go to Vegas. because
Right.
it's
I'm just
not
saying you don't try out for all the rooms. Like you just get.
you try out for the whole Comedy Cellar in general. Okay, so how did you cross Esty's radar screen?
Richard Barrett is the booker of it's called Richard Barrett.
Barrett.
Yeah, he's the booker of the Comedy and Magic Club in
LA.
Hermosa Beach in LA, and he put a good word on about me to Esty, and then Rafi also, and Jocelyn Chia also, and because she saw me in a couple of shows, and she sent me an email, and she was like, "Be here at 7." I was here at 7. I did my set, and
It went well, obviously.
it went well, and now I'm in this podcast. It was all a blur. It was all a blur. I don't know what
Now
happened.
I'm
in
on
the
this
middle.
Now, what you
podcast.
I
need
just wake up and I was in this
What
podcast.
you need to know is that just because you're passed doesn't mean you stay passed. You know, if you start not doing well, some people just sort of all of a sudden find themselves no longer working here. You know,
How long have you been working here?
I've been
Dan?
working here a long time.
How long?
20 years.
20
straight.
years.
But
Congrats, that's amazing.
it's a long time.
20
años.
20.
20 años.
And that's a concern that's still.
No, not
No.
for me. I'm just saying,
You're
and I don't, and probably not for Fabrizio either. My guess would be.
Well, now it is.
I know, really.
Well,
Welcome.
if you're
Don't
killing-
get too comfortable.
If you're killing, you're killing. I'm just letting the audience know because I think it's interesting to see how things work here at the Comedy Cellar.
Okay.
That once you get past, this is just information really for the audience.
Not a warning.
No,
for
no,
you.
no. Yeah,
No, I'm
it sounds
not-
more like a
Are
warning.
you
but-
killing? Then there's nothing to worry about. If you're fucking killing, it don't matter. I'm just saying to the audience, once you're past here, you know, they still kind of keep track a little bit. They ask the wait staff, and once in a while, Noam will go around, or Liz is always around. Liz, the manager, and if you're not doing well, then yeah, you may not stick around. So I think it's an interesting
It
thing
is,
for
yeah.
people
I mean,
to know.
without the knowledge that now I have, I thought about, that's possible. So I decided, like, the first couple months, I'm just gonna, like, not try a lot of new stuff.
right.
Like, try little stuff here and there, but try to stick to the material that I know it works, and, like, feel comfortable on stage with the material I feel that it will go well. And it's been working so far. It's just been a week, of course, as I can.
And I haven't seen your act. So are you talking a lot about
You.
being the bird? Are you talking a lot about being Chilean in New York, I mean, like, what kind of themes are you addressing in your act that maybe other comics aren't because they're not in your situation?
Well, I talk about that, but it's not like I think my number one thing. I got this point of view. Of course, it's a work in progress. We all still working in like what is our point of view, what we're supposed to say, you know. But I think right now I try to perform as a Latino comic that is not a dump. It's smarter than
Not a what? Dumb?
yeah, smarter than the people think. And I honestly think that Latinos were from the future. Like all the things that are happening in the U.S. are already happening in our country. So it kind of like bring that knowledge to the U.S. in a comedy form.
Okay.
You know,
That's interesting.
I tried to perform that idea. Of course, not all the jokes are about that. I mean, there's jokes about being a dad. There's jokes about family, friends, like the cultural differences, blah blah blah. But I tried to like put that in my mind when I write. You know.
Well, I
Just
mean,
have a perspective that is fresh and is,
yeah,
is
you know,
unique.
that's obviously a great thing because the comics, even if you're hysterically funny, if you're covering topics that everybody's covering, I mean, you can still do it. It's still great, but it's always also nice to have something that not everybody's talking about.
Oh, and yeah, and I try to like it's I think it makes me different. It's my story. It's like honest and comes from a honest place. So I try to like keep that in mind. And let's see how it works.
And just to bring up Jim Norton and Keith Robinson yet again, that to me is why I go down to watch them and not other comics because I want to hear something that nobody's talking about. In Keith's case, living with a stroke, being a stroke survivor, and in Jim's case, being with the transgender woman. You know, I mean, those are very interesting, and unique things
Those are interesting.
that and I go down to watch Attell just because he's Attell.
So something's happened that you can tell. I remember like when I move, I started seeing like all the comics and all some topics start to like become so like everyone's talking about the same things
Right, yeah.
that you forget which joke is from who because they get like kind of like melted in your brain. And yeah, it's great to like try to have something different, you know. So that's what I'm trying to do.
What's now in Chile? How many? I mean, is it like a big scene there comedically? How many besides you? Say you're the biggest comic in Chile.
I mean, yeah, there's comics who are like
Who else?
really well. There's a guy called Edo Caroy who is a great comic and also magician that is doing really well. There's also like a wave of female comics who are doing amazing, like Paloma Salas, Natalia Valdebenito. Like there's a lot of going on there. Like what happened is like when I started, when I was 16, and there was not like comic clubs, so I watched all
What
this
are you
special.
now? 30 something.
34,
So young.
and
Young. So joven. Muchos joven.
Yeah, you speak Spanish.
Hey, a little bit. A couple of words.
It's the
here and
same
there.
as French. That's why.
Well, there's a lot of words that are similar. So
yeah,
yes,
it's
and
Latin
also
language.
Yeah, Latin language, and also I took Spanish in high school, so I remember a few things.
There was not comedy clubs or anything similar, so we went to like a tango club.
Tango.
Tango. You know the
dance. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the owner gave us a little room in the second floor, and we started there to do shows.
Wow,
I-
that's wild.
We have no idea how it works. So I remember me and my two friends, each one of us did like 45 minutes in the first night because we didn't know that you have to do 10.
That's hilarious.
So it went really bad, but we kind of like starting doing this more and more and trying to make it better. And at some point, we got a lot of audience. And then a couple years later, we did a TV show that was called The Comedy Club. And that show, we did really well. We did 7 seasons in prime time in the Chilean TV. So that allowed me, when I was like, I don't know, 20 or something, to like travel over the country many times and doing shows in casinos and like in bigger venues and all that. And that was like the explosion of stand-up in the early thousands. And now there's a whole scene. And there's
That is so interesting.
But you were fortunate enough to be in at the beginning of it, which I guess is.
But sounds like he was
or helped to create.
created.
yeah, it was me and my friends. Like they're still comics.
They are still comics.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they do really, really well.
I got to go to a country where there's no comedy and just invented.
There was no laughter before us. We brought
It's a somber place.
Yeah.
Well, also there was no social media really yet.
Yeah, it was like the early days of Twitter. Or
Right.
something, yeah.
So
Well, there was Facebook.
Yeah, yeah, I think, but it was not that massive. I remember like, it was not in Spanish yet at that point.
right.
You know,
you
it
were
was
doing-
only in English,
Oh.
like the Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, that was crazy. And then yeah, we now I think there's 3 comedy clubs. Like there's one like legit good comedy club in Santiago. Actually, Neil Brennan performed it there once.
Okay.
And
So they speak. So you could go there and speak English, but you
Yeah,
had said
yeah.
earlier that Chileans and English
Well,
are
you
not.
can find an audience. It's a big country. You will find 300 people
that
to
can
fill a
speak English,
room.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that comedy club is like really well run.
What's it
and
called?
It's called Comedy Resto Bar. And I now there's a whole scene, and there's open mics, and you can start now when having social media followers and like perform all over the country. There's even like TikTok stars are doing stand, like everything that is happening here
Right, yeah,
is also happening there. So it's very similar, and I think that they're very good
So,
comics.
so you
They're
had
very-
mentioned that Chile is sort of the future, but in this case, we're the future.
well,
Commi-
politically, in terms of politics, it's different. I think we are from the future, but like let's see.
But in
Let's-
comedy, we're from the future.
yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
we
I
were-
will agree on that.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys are the birds.
Now you mentioned being famous gives you access to if you have a movie project or a TV project. Is that something? I assume you have some ambitions in America to do television and film. Is that something you're pursuing? And how's that going?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still trying to figure out this thing of like agents and managers, like such a new thing for me. I don't even know what they do, but I'm learning, and I'm trying to try to sell projects and pitch this and all this thing that hopefully they'll get me somewhere to do the movie. I would love to do movies and TV at some point.
Well, an agent really is just like, generally speaking, is the person that, and if you already know this, forgive me, but the audience might not. The agent is the person that kind of calls you up and gets you work. Says, okay, they need somebody to audition for the Latin Lover on this TV show.
Yeah.
You go to this place and audition, or you audition on tape and send it in, whatever. Or they're doing a TV show. They want to talk to you about some ideas. A manager generally is above the agent and takes a more holistic view of your career and says you should do movies, or you should concentrate on your TikTok following, and gives you advice less specific to a specific job and more of a holistic view of what you should be doing. And you should be. We're going to get you an agent so you can audition for movies, because I think that's something that you'd be good in, or you'd be good at, or you have great jokes for, quick jokes that would work well on Instagram. So that's sort of the difference. I mean, there's a lot of. I think the line is often blurred between the two, but that's the basic difference.
That makes sense. No, in South America we don't have that. There's not like a system like
Not yet.
not yet.
Well, but there's TV shows. There's got to be like soap operas,
No,
right? The
there's-
Spanish love soap operas.
And there's other kinds of TV shows. It's not only soap operas. We also make great movies, and there's like interesting shows coming up from there, and cool soap operas. Like there's good ones now. Like there's like Brazilian ones are really really well written.
Who are some famous Chileans? I mean, I can't think of any. I guess in soccer they're probably.
There's in soccer there's a lot.
but I don't know. We don't know anything about soccer.
You know Pedro Pascal?
No.
You don't know The Mandalorian?
Oh no. The Mandalorian. That's a movie, right?
It's a very famous TV show. He was in Narcos also. He was on.
That's a great show, Narcos.
Yeah, in
What was-
Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay.
What else? He's like in Indian. Yeah, that guy.
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh, he's Chilean.
Yep.
He's Chilean.
Wait, is Chile the long country?
Is
Oh
the long
my
guy.
Very
God.
long.
Yeah.
It's the long one.
Just realized.
Yeah, for some reason in my mind I was not pictured, but it's very long
It's
and
very
skinny
long.
and
Yeah,
narrow.
it's old coastline.
Yeah, so like between east and west, it's like what, 10 miles? How many miles between the east coast and the west coast of Chile? 20 miles?
I think so. Yeah. It's a
Leave
really-
that picture up. He's.
By the way, I think the biggest swimming pool in the world is in Chile. Could you verify that?
Yeah, it's
Why do you
San
know
Alfonso
that?
del Mar se llama. That's the name of the.
I don't. But
pool.
for some reason, I knew that. I saw it somewhere online and it stuck in my mind. Could you maybe pull that up?
The amount
Nicole, I
of
don't-
information
or-
in your brain never ceases to amaze me.
Swimming pool.
You're
Yeah,
gonna-
I don't know where I saw that, but it's just like amazingly enormous swimming pool.
Uh-oh. Egypt. Just.
Oh, Egypt.
Oh, damn it.
So you're
The
number
second.
2.
Ah.
The Crystal
It's
Lagoon.
not called the Crystal Lagoon. It's called San
Sharm
Well,
el
here we
Sheikh.
call it the Crystal Lagoon here in America, I guess.
The largest. Can we see a picture of it? How big is it? How many people?
In
does it
Muy
hold?
Grande.
Who wants to swim in a swimming
Disgusting.
pool? Yeah, it
Sounds
sounds
like-
like
it's
a
like-
toilet, just like a giant
pool, like
cesspool.
cesspool.
Could you get us a picture, Nicole, possibly? of the Chilean pool?
The Chilean system.
I guess that Egypt pool must be new.
Yeah, must be because we were number one for a while. I remember that story.
Those Egyptians.
It's just
Now I don't know what country has the largest above ground pool.
Come on, Chile, we can do this. We can still be number one.
Now, can you tell me how ignorant most Americans are? Like, how many times are...
Yeah. Okay.
That's not the pool in Chile. I don't think so.
That's
Wait,
the pool. That's the way.
Oh yeah.
What do you mean? That little thing in the middle, or that whole...
Well, obviously the whole huge
The
thing.
whole thing that is right next to the ocean.
Oh,
To the Pacific Ocean, the biggest pool, the biggest natural
that's
pool
the pool?
on Earth. Yeah.
Yes.
I thought that was the ocean.
No,
It's right
the
next-
ocean's on the left.
it's
on
right
the
next
right.
to
Right,
the-
I got it. Okay, that actually looks really nice.
It must be. I never been.
Yeah, that's a big fucking pool.
Okay,
so your question as to
Yeah.
how dumb are Americans?
we're not dumb. We
Well,
fucking
ignorant. Okay, ignorant.
Well,
a lot of us are dumb. We also some of us found that Apple computers and Google.
Ignorant. I mean,
think,
also most
um,
Americans don't have passports, if I'm not mistaken. Americans, and maybe this is a myth, but I don't think so, are not that knowledgeable about
That is correct.
other countries.
I
and-
think that.
Sure.
I think they're very ignorant in terms of like what's going on outside of the U.S.
Right.
You know, there's not a lot of interest on what's going on outside
No.
of the borders of this country, and well, if you learned like you're the number one and the message is like you're number one, it's hard to pay attention to number 2 or 3 or 84.
But you're not helping matters because you come here and say, I want to be a comic in America. You're feeding our ego.
I know, but I think it was not my fault. I think this. I think in some point, in some like, of course, in comedy, yeah. I mean, where else? Like, where are you supposed to go? And in terms of like, yeah, I don't know if you was going to like make a startup, you're gonna go to San Francisco, or
Exactly.
there's a lot of like fields that it makes sense to come to the US.
America's yeah, America really is still number one. It's not. I'm not bragging by saying this because I had literally zero to do with it. But you know, I mean, we're
just saying, like,
fucking-
most Americans probably don't even know that Chile is a country. They certainly...
Well, I don't know.
A lot of people think it's Mexico, or yeah, a lot of people
I'm sorry.
think it's in Europe, or
They think Chile's in Mexico.
yeah, they think it's part of Mexico.
Well, Nicole, you're from.
That is...
You got your finger on the pulse of the average American. You're from Binghamton. What was your knowledge of Chile before this show?
She also thought it was in Mexico.
Did you think it was in Mexico?
That is the most unbelievable thing.
What did you know about Chile, Nicole, before this episode?
Not much. I know like roughly where it is and physically what it looks like on a map,
All right,
but
that's about what I knew.
definitely
and
not
the, and
in
the pool.
Mexico.
But also, like, I got the same, like, the feeling of, I don't, it's not like I'm angry at the people who know about Chile. Like, in general, it's part of, like, it's a, I mean, I don't think about other countries in Africa or countries in like, small countries in other
It's a small
continents.
country.
I know they exist, or I know I try to have an idea
Right.
where they are.
Right, but like I don't think that... I mean, the idea that most people would think that Chile is in Mexico...
Well, I don't know that most people think that, but some people.
Well, I mean, that's the first thing he said, so I'm assuming
Yeah,
more than
a lot-
one
a lot of
because
person...
that's the
people-
most striking thing that he's probably heard, but doesn't mean that that's common.
Well, I don't have the data, to be honest.
We don't...
I don't have the facts.
I never need data to
But
make arguments.
it happened more than once, and yeah.
Ricky Ricardo sang a song about Santiago, Chile,
Yeah.
on the I Love Lucy. So so some people know about Chile from that.
Also,
He wasn't
wine.
No, but
wine,
he sang.
that's right, wine.
Wine is a thing?
wine.
Yeah.
Chilean
He
wine.
was not Chilean, but he sang a song about Chile, which I'm looking up now.
Okay.
And that's how I knew that Santiago was the capital of Chile, because that song, in Santiago, Chile, sung by Desi Arnaz.
Okay, but you know, like, other capitals of other countries.
I don't know that many capitals. I mean, maybe more than the average person.
Yes, more than the average American, I would argue.
Well, also, like,
Santiago, Chile, these are the words. Santiago, Chile ain't chilly at all. Pay a senorita a sociable call. Her folks are very friendly. They stick around close from your first how do you do till your last adios. Santiago, Chile, and
Okay.
so on and so forth.
Wow, feel very emotional.
And
This,
I don't know if we want to play it. Yeah, well, why not? Kill a couple of minutes, play Santiago, Chile.
Well, Fabrizio might have to.
Well, we're almost done
Yeah,
here.
okay.
So, do you have a spot tonight?
yeah.
What time is it?
9:20. I have my spot,
Oh,
so I have
geez.
time.
Oh, you're early as fuck. Did you come in early for the? I'm sorry, we made you come in.
No,
early?
it's fine. I was around. Actually, my office is not that far from here.
Oh, you have an office?
I rent an office. Yeah.
See, that's right. That's somebody with ambition who rents an office.
Yeah.
And you go there, and what do you do there?
I write. Also, like I put a little studio to do my podcasts and videos for Chile and work
Okay.
that I have in other countries. Trying to make.
Yeah, so a lot of comics have an office. This way, they go to the office, and
Yeah.
it forces them because they're not at home. I never did that, but it forces them,
But
I guess, to.
it's
I think
not
I
too
think-
late.
I think that Ryan Hamilton, I think he did that. He did a WeWork thing where.
I make you feel like you have a job.
Yeah.
So you go there, and this way you're there, so you're going to write and you're going to do shit.
And
Well,
you,
it's
you have to in and
Yeah,
like
you-
put your
yeah.
brain into that mindset. And
it's good. I mean, it's not too late. You could still
I understand
get
that.
an
I'm just
office.
okay. We can discuss that, but just again, for,
it's a good idea. I recommend you to do that. It's good for your brain. Also, like separate spaces.
Right.
You know, that's healthy.
Is that something that you would consider?
man, that's what I guess. I don't know, maybe.
Okay.
But we can talk about that another time. I'm just
Okay,
saying that this is something comics do because like it forces like you go and now you're not at home, so you can't.
Procrastinate.
I mean, you can.
yeah, you
know,
can.
you
Yeah, people
fucking-
at offices procrastinate.
You
all
could
the
take a
time.
nap at the office just as easy.
Yeah,
I mean, I
yeah.
don't know if you have a couch at the office.
I have a guy
Well, so you can
for the naps. No,
you can take a nap there too.
but honestly, like it makes me feel that when I go out of my house, I feel, okay, I'm going to the office. Makes me feel like I have to do stuff.
How
you know?
far is the office from your house?
It's like I don't know, 20 minutes on train.
Okay, so you really have to like.
But
go
you live in
Go.
Manhattan.
Yeah,
Okay. But you live uptown, I guess.
yeah. I live in the Upper West Side.
Oh, okay.
Oh, me too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
We're neighbors.
all right. Maybe you guys can have a coffee.
For sure.
Anyway, thank you. I guess unless there's something else Periel, you want to
W-
discuss.
where can everybody find
Well,
you?
Noam has a beef with that question because he just figures if they want, they just Google Fabrizio
Okay.
Copano. But
Well, if you don't want to do that, you can put @Fabrizio Copano on every social media, except from TikTok. I think in TikTok you have to go Fabrizio _Copano.
Your website,
Capano.
Yes.
Capano.
Copano.
Your website is in Spanish. I was trying to
Oh,
find a.
Copano. Copano.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. FabrizioCopano.com. I'm seeing it right here. Oh, I don't know.
It's in English, and I just couldn't figure it out.
I think so.
Oh,
Hi, my name is Fabrizio. Is this you?
Can you show me? I don't.
Well, when I click on it, it says this connection is not private.
that happened to me too.
Oh, okay. I have to check that out.
The dark web.
Maybe it's a way to get your info. Maybe and just.
I don't know, so I don't want to click on it. But so is your website in Spanish, as she has said?
I think it's both, but depending on the configuration, it should be. I mean, I haven't checked that out. No one checked websites that much. I think. Well,
Yeah.
but I'll do it. Yeah, I have to.
I just panicked because I was trying to find a biography for you, and it was.
There's no need to panic. If we can't get a biography, we can simply
There's
ask
no-
the guest to talk about himself.
There's no need to panic, and if you start to feel panicky, you can just start saying "I'm a bird" over and over
I
again.
guess.
Till you start flying.
Well, I didn't know that my bird analogy would take flight the way it did. But in any case, I think it's a very good analogy with regard to language.
It is.
and it's a beautiful one.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the goal is to become a bird in a second language.
And fly. And
So just simply fly without thinking,
yeah.
as opposed to a pilot who manipulates the controls but does so.
But you think at some
in a
point
conscious
the
way.
pilots they're just like,
Yeah, well, to an extent, but they still use checklists. you know,
Well, yeah, they have to go through
and if
all
there's
the
an
process.
emergency procedure, they might have to pull out
Yeah.
the manual,
Yeah. And then
to do that.
Really?
Well, in an emergency, just to make sure they get every step correct. They don't want to, yes. Because
I mean, that's incredibly unnerving. Like, I would like to think that, like, a professional pilot who's flying, like, a jet plane, if something goes wrong, doesn't have to pull out a fucking manual.
well, they want to make sure they get all the steps correctly.
I think that's a
Well,
movie.
did they learn that in pilot school or wherever the hell they go?
Yeah, but you can always forget. That's why pilots use checklists because it's always possible to forget something.
Okay.
So if you get a bird strike, like if you saw the movie Sully, and there was two engines that weren't working, I believe I'd have to watch the movie again. They pulled out the engine out, the checklist for landing in the water.
I'm never
with
going to
no
be able to
engine.
get on a plane again.
Well, it worked out pretty well, don't you think?
I mean,
on that movie,
And in real life.
this is like I'm imagining like a surgeon is doing like some sort of like open heart surgery and something goes.
They probably have
wrong.
checklists too.
Then,
I don't know
like,
anything about surgery.
trying to
Right.
figure out what is it like.
I mean,
Where's Spanish?
Right, exactly.
Anything that has to be done right away is committed to memory. But there's most things you don't need to do right that second, and it's worth opening it up the checklist to make sure you get it right.
But it's like we will never know. We'll be
I
in the
don't
back
know.
of the plane
Yeah, I
thinking
don't
that
want-
everything is
I don't
fine.
want to know, Frank. Like honestly, that gives me anxiety.
We'll be just. I remember like that movie Flight with Denzel
Yeah.
Washington, and I remember like I was watching that on a plane. I was like, why
Oh,
they put
no.
that movie on the plane?
That's awful.
It was like the first 5 minutes the plane crashed. So it's like why?
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was a bad idea. Also on my part to decided to watch that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of that's.
But it's a great movie, by the way.
Kind of on you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Fabrizio Copano, our one of our newest, maybe literally our newest. I don't know if there's anybody else that's newer than him here at the Comedy Cellar.
Maybe, yeah.
But they're constantly bringing in new people.
And getting rid of the
Every now and again. That's right.
they trim
So
the fat.
thank you for coming. That is our show. Podcast at comedycellar.com for comments, questions, and constructive criticism. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for having me. Bye.